In favor? All right, thank you. Oh, sorry.
She's running.
Until JD got back and then we just eat, but.
Okay.
No, we can get some stuff.
We could eat and work.
So just adoption of the minutes from CCW in November.
I do that.
Councillor Bengry? Yep.
Yep.
All in favor? Thank you. So do we want to, are we done with, yeah, okay, so other business, recreation facility, we've done. So recreation, yeah, no, there's nothing in there, so. Recreation facility survey, there were a few questions, I'm just trying to find that. Is that in our backgrounder?
I appreciated the.
Send that second document, Councillor.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I appreciated the question. I also think that Jeff had made an interesting point. Jeff, do you want to talk to the points that you included in the number 4 question?
Want to talk to
there?
3 and 4.
There is number 3
Backgrounder.
has brackets of taxes involvement.
If you go to the CCW background
But
documents.
number 4 exactly. What exactly you?
Mr. Chairman, you
Yeah,
okay with that?
yeah, you
So
can
the
do it.
first 3 questions were something the rec board brought forward.
Yep.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. This thing is wide open for whatever you want to discern from the public. I don't have a strong position here either way. I had just put out, I think each of these questions will require some kind of preamble to qualify
Yeah.
them all. I think
Yeah.
it's too simple just to show up at a door
Yeah.
and say,
Hey,
you know, if you support this. Well, it's gonna need some context and some supporting material, and so what we've been
Right.
talking in the office a bit about, you know, how do you, that, first of all, that number 4 about deferring other things is a difficult question to word. I don't think that's how it should land, by the way.
That wasn't one of our questions,
No,
by the
we
way.
were just
No,
talking
no,
about
no,
what
no,
are
that's
other
what I'm
things to
talking
consider.
about.
Just to be clear.
And so, but no, by all means, whatever you do or do not want to consider, we just want to formalize that questionnaire because we think we're going to have to need some preamble and context to the questions as well.
sure.
And then the other thing too, related to the survey, is I'm nervous that this isn't the right time to send people door to door.
No.
We may need to look at an electronic, similar to the census again, where every home gets a card with a PIN, and then you can reply using that PIN, so that every house can reply once, that kind of idea. So we're gonna explore that a little more, because I'm not sure how much we want to be sending people to doors when you're not even allowed to have one person over. So, but as far as the questions, we're just looking for a little direction. Are we missing a big chunk of what you want to know? Anything like that.
Councillor Selk?
I like the 3 questions submitted by the Parks and Rec, or the Rec Ad Hoc Committee. The 4th one is cumbersome.
In the wording,
It's too wordy, it's too
Yeah.
long. Not only that, but my other comment to that question is, did you do a thorough backgrounder for all the projects that were postponed or pushed back because you spent $3 million on a swimming pool? And you grabbed $1 million out of reserve and $1 million out of MSI? Because there's the same implications with that facility, only more because it's more money.
Councillor Court and then the mayor.
Just 2 comments on 3. I don't like it because we already talked about there would not be a tax increase for this rec center. We already talked about that and said there would not be a tax increase. So why are we muddying the waters with that question there? I have no problem with 1 and 2. Number 4, the same thing. We've discussed how we're going to go about if there's delays, when we're going to do it. And we looked at the 3-year budget when those things could be planned and done again. We didn't talk about or canceling anything really. That to me is very misleading and just a crappy question to go into a survey.
Mayor?
Kind of how I feel.
Okay. For me, number 4 was problematic in the wording. I think maybe when you do the preamble, something like what I released in the video clip could be said, that that $1 million was funded by postponing some non-essential and non-urgent project, which is the truth, which is what it is. So I'm not so sure, Jeff, if that number 4 was trying to speak to that or in the future. For me, number 3 should stay there. I personally think it should be there because we do not know what the cost overrun may be. And right now, if you remember, there is no capital increase in the budget tax-wise, but that's not exactly true for the operation. If you look in the budget, Jeff and his team have put a fair amount of money toward operation, which has brought up our taxes to that 2%. It's included in that 2% increase in tax. So we cannot pretend there is no tax increase. There's no tax capital-wise. That is true. That's totally true. But it's not going to be true moving forward with operation from year to year. And so, I don't know. I think there is maybe some fair thing there inside there. Capital-wise, no. This year, you're right, 0. But it all will depend if everything is going to be raised this year or not. And if we are moving forward, if there is cost overrun or not. And as they're not going to be coming from this budget. So it's future thinking. I think it's not a bad thing to have there.
Councillor Selk and then Councillor Court.
Okay, well, I slightly disagree with the mayor's
It's
point.
okay. We don't always agree.
Lately, we don't agree on anything, so.
It's quite okay, Councillor.
So, I know what the mayor is saying with respect to the operations. However, the increase in taxes could just as well be placed at the feet of police costing or something else.
Yeah.
What administration did do, and I applaud them for it, is they came up with $56,000 in the budget from their existing budget to go towards the operations. Am I right, Jeff?
Correct.
So that's not a tax increase. That's administration being creative in the way that they do their job. Am I correct, Jeff?
Thanks, yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess, sorry, go ahead, Councillor.
Just one other thing that's an unknown. If there was a recreation center in town, would your household support it with the user fee? We don't know how much, this may be a money maker. We don't know. Because there's going to be user fees to go along with this. In my mind, those user fees would be used to offset the operation costs. We don't know what those are going to be. It might be minimal. It might not be anything at all. If I was writing this question, I would put 2 questions. Do you support the idea of a recreation center if taxes are not increased? And number 2, if there's a recreation center in town, do you support the use of user fees to help offset the operational costs? That's how I would word them, but that's just me.
Okay, Councillor Brown.
So I love his 2 questions, yes and yes. What I can tell you is when the ad hoc committee was talking about the questions for the survey, they wanted them short and to the point. They didn't want you to get lost mid-paragraph, like not sorry, but that's just my point. They wanted it short and sweet. So they wanted the outcome simple. So we can look at whatever those outcomes are and we can say, okay, we have 500 people that love the rec center, or we have whatever it is. We needed it crystal clear. And so that's why when they were coming up with the ideas, and it's all good if you don't love these and tweaking them. I love actually the 2 that Councillor Court put forward. But I think however we word them, they have to be short, direct, and to the point. We can't be too wordy. Wordy is bad.
I like the one there we have here.
Did you want to?
Well, I just think that just listening on the tax implication, it's quite interesting because you're 100% correct. We balanced a budget with some expenses in for the upcoming years on this, but I'm trying to grapple with, there are new costs operationally in the budget for this facility. There absolutely are, and you can look at those as a percentage of total taxation if you want. Now, we've mitigated them by cutting back in other places, or you've got a 2% tax increase in the budget, and I don't remember the exact percentage on utilities, but 1.5, I want to say, utility rate increase. So that's generating new revenue too, for sure. I think when I think of that question, I'm thinking, what new expenses did we add to the budget? And maybe that's not a fair way to look at it. I'm just throwing out how there is a percentage of our total taxation that this building is now taking up. That was new. It didn't exist before. That's all.
Okay, Councillor Barnes and
Okay.
then Selk.
Questions in my mind. I can't stand a long wordy survey question. I get so bored in it, I get mad. Councillor Brown has said, short, to the point, but not leading. You don't lead people to an answer. That's what we have. That's what happens with the federal government surveys. They lead you to where they want you to go. And there's nothing more frustrating because you're really not giving your opinion. So you need to have a survey that gets to the point and give a little bit of information that's sufficient for them to make a decision, but not make it so that it's leading one way or the other. Because that's the worst kind of survey you can have, because it really doesn't give you a proper consensus. And I'm hungry, so I'm going to eat before I get too grouchy.
Selk.
And the food is here.
I was gonna suggest,
Okay.
lost my train
Yes,
of
we're
thought. I'm President.
You're hungry too.
All this wordiness is making my mind go to different places, okay? But what I was gonna suggest at some point in time is that perhaps we could get to the business so that our
Yeah.
good folks from the dog park can go home.
Agreed.
Change the agenda is what I'm suggesting.
So where would you like to go there, Councillor? You just want to go,
Let's talk about the dog park.
Yeah.
Can we do that?
If we all agree, sure.
sure.
I have no problem with agreeing.
Just remember, I remember the point I wanted to make, and that's, we also have new revenue sources, right, Jeff? With the contribution from the county that's going towards recreation, we also have new revenue sources that are going to all of our so that needs to be taken into account. The creative way that you've come up with money from your internal budget and in additional resources.
Yes, in short, not to get all philosophical, you know as well as I do, there's this debate about whether that new money is offsetting existing infrastructure. No, and that's your decision, and you guys figure that out.
Right.
But that's that philosophical debate you had before.
Right. Okay, good.
Okay.
I'm not going crazy.
Go ahead.
No, you're not.
Talking dog park now, or
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Let's talk
do
about the
that.
dog park.
I'll go around the table?
Please, you need to change the agenda so we can deal with the dog park, or what do you want to do?
Yeah, 70.
Yeah, just go there. That's fine.
Perfect.
Okay.
Councillor Ford?
As for the dog park, I'm in favor of it in principle. I hate that word, but I'm going to use it anyhow. I'm just not quite sure where we're going to put it yet. I like the idea. I'm glad they're raising money. I think there's a need for it because I walk my dog lots and I see people out all the time with it. I'm just not sure which one of those 4 or 5 that I really want to throw my support behind.
Councillor Brown?
Just so you're aware, I do not own a dog, but somehow I'm in favor of this dog park. I love the idea. I love what it can do for a community. However, that said, I am a huge supporter of one of the areas that they have put in our backgrounder because I will get less hate phone calls. And I know, Debbie, that it is your perception that it enhances a community, and I agree. I do. I agree. But from the amount of hate phone calls that I got when word and mouth went around that it was being put up on that flat area, West Creek Drive, that they were angry, Debbie, and they did not like it there because for whatever reasons. And so I am a huge supporter of the area that Jill and Jeff, and I'd been a part of that conversation, down on Lee's Creek, because it is below the hill. We don't have residential looking right at it. We have parking right there at the football field. We have the paved path right there for wheelchair accessibility. I just figured down there would be a better area. And same with Jeff, when we talked about the field that's already fenced and that we would only need to pay for if we could get that area, remember?
That actually, I might say, wasn't on their proposal.
Oh, it's not?
No, that wasn't one. It's privately owned at this point in time.
You said you were looking into...
I have talked to the owner.
Okay.
And the next time he lives in Red Deer. The next time he's in town, we're going to go and have a conversation on it.
Because I'm not married to the idea of anywhere, but I like down there because they're already down there walking their dogs off leash anyway. Why not have them in an area where we can put a nice fence in and it can be along the creek and back and forth, but yet we don't get the hate phone calls because it's across the street from their house. That's how I feel.
Councillor Selk and then the mayor.
Okay. Well, I'm just gonna take a walk on the wild side here and put forward a motion that we support the dog park in principle, and that pending the folks from the dog park doing some more research and or canvassing the public with respect to locations.
Yeah.
Fair enough?
Yep.
Fair enough?
Yep. Yeah.
Any questions? All in favor? Oh,
No?
I have a question.
oh, well,
Not really a question, a comment. I agree with Councillor Brown. Perfect.
Oh, that's okay.
That's what I was
Thank you.
thinking.
okay.
And I am in favor.
I said all in favor, everybody.
Okay, so can I ask a question? I cannot see Debbie, but Debbie, you were saying that people are starting to put money towards a fund. Is there a fund at the town where you can put money towards this?
Yes, so there is an account through the town that was open. We did not want to be responsible for funding in the sense of somebody saying, you have
Okay.
no proof I paid you, etc. So everything
Okay.
has gone through the town. We have not exchanged money in our hands at all.
Okay.
So the town has that. I would like to take a second to just update you on something that happened while you guys were talking in the paper. We had a landscaper text me saying he is willing to do all the work to install the fence, and he says, and I will get you the best pricing for fencing as well. And that came up while we were having this discussion. So we have also somebody willing, as their donation to the dog park, to do the work to put the fence up and to provide the best pricing.
And they're currently working on another town project right now, so I know that you guys have approved them.
That's awesome, because we could have found a cure for COVID in the time we were discussing the rec center.
There is a vaccine coming, though.
Any minute.
Great,
Thank you for your
thank you. Yeah,
patience.
thank you.
Thank you.
Just so I'm clear, because, you know, I like to complicate what seems like a straightforward motion. So they had presented a number of locations. There he is. It's not a very tough word, but locations. Would you like them to take I know you have expressed concern, there's somebody around there, maybe their first or second location.
Yeah.
Do you still want them, do you want them to engage those neighborhoods? Or do you want administratively to work with them to engage the neighborhoods? What kind of feedback would you prefer from the people around those locations?
I mean, there are different locations. There's 4 different locations from what I can see. Why don't we have an understanding of council of which of those 4 locations I prefer? Personally, the Lee Creek location 1 and 2, similar to yours, is the one I think is very well fitting for that type of park. I would prefer it there.
Not 3.
I like the one across the road from the mayor,
You know? If
I
the
do like the
neighbors
one that's-
around there would like it, why not?
I do like the one that's down below the hill, it's already fenced in, the private one, if we ever could figure that one out.
Yeah.
To me, that's, because you got parking there and you got a pathway right to it, and it's actually a fairly big-sized area.
So is that the third one, this one?
It's not on.
No, it's,
Go ahead,
it's not
Not
on.
on there.
Mayor,
On the
it's-
creek?
It's where the.
Are you saying along the creek?
It's where the.
It's not right on the creek, but it's back up that
Mine
walking
is
path and off
in
to
the
the right.
hill.
The guy's fenced
Oh,
it
yeah,
off
yeah,
the
yeah,
bottom of the
yeah.
hill there.
There.
Debbie?
I was just gonna say, we didn't include that as one of our proposals because that is not town land.
Sure.
That, we are aware of that land, but it wasn't included because that's kind
That's
of
right, I'd see
stepping
it.
over our boundary lines.
Sure.
Well, if we could work an
Fair enough.
agreement there, that's where I'd like to see it going.
Well, do we know what the other one?
So,
So are,
Bravo.
yeah.
yeah,
Who's
go
in
ahead.
favor
So
of that location?
who's in favor of?
I'm in favor of the river bottom,
Some-
somewhere along Lee's
I am
Creek.
too.
Looks like that's where it's in favor. Okay.
Okay, can you work with
To
that?
clarify, what can the committee bring forward to the community at this point?
What exactly,
Can we share with them that this is the location that the town is discussing? Can we share, we don't want to overstep what is appropriate at this time and what's not. So just wondering what we could go forward back with to our community, our members.
It's gonna be in the river bottom.
well.
Wouldn't
why
it-
don't
Councillor
we
Brown.
take a motion?
Wouldn't it be reasonable to assume that council has approved
Yeah.
a dog park in theory? And that, in principle, nice word, in principle, and that,
Location.
and that the location is along Lee's Creek? More information to follow. Is that not what we just, would that not be reasonable?
I would just say, as opposed to along Lee's Creek, along the
Right, sorry,
edge of the hill is more appropriate.
Close
more
to-
Where the
accurate.
dog.
yeah.
Somewhere along the walking path.
Yeah,
But
you
not
might
by
want to
Lee's
put
Creek.
that, Debbie, so that it's back away from the walking path and closer to the hill, but you kind of get where we're going with that. People don't want to be thinking that they're going to be walking through a dog park when
Yeah.
they're on the walking path.
That's right. Thank you.
There we go.
Good.
Just want to apologize for eating in front of you, but my blood sugar was starting to go crazy.
So is mine.
All right.
Okay, well,
Are we
we
good?
take.
Yes.
Well,
I
did we
think we're
want to
good.
did
Are
we
we
want to
good?
get through everything before?
Is that enough information?
Just one more question, because there's a lot of people that we've approached for funding that have said, well, where is it going to be? And I'm more than willing to provide like a significant amount, if I like the spot. If we had, permission or, direction as to where we could, if we could say that that's the spot, I know we can acquire a lot more funding. And what would, what type of funding would make council say, let's do this, like right now?
All of it.
Go ahead, Mayor.
All right, so here's a little bit, it's a chicken and the egg, right? So we do not know, I was asking how much is a fence going to cost, we do not know. So right
The
now, we
ballpark.
don't even have that item in a budget, for example. In order to put in a budget, we need to have a
It's all
figure
fenced
of some
already.
sorts.
Oh, but
And
we're
we need
fine.
to figure out the source of funding. So we know there is some donation. We don't know how much more it will need. We don't know when the funding will be sufficient in order to say go ahead, because it might be okay, we'll find the difference somewhere in some pockets of reserves here and there.
So what, I guess for us to know, what is the next step you need from us, or what amount or numbers do you need us to come back to you with before we can take the next step to saying, let's start digging?
Sure, Jeff.
Why don't we, well, if by we, I don't mean me
I
at
think
all,
you
but
need
why
to
don't,
work.
Hi, people.
why don't some people, Brandon is who I'm volunteering here, why don't we survey a couple of preferred locations so we know the footage we're looking at, so we know the price of fencing.
Sounds good.
Right, then we know if we're
Yeah.
looking at 10 grand
That's
or
right.
30, because,
That's
you know, if it's 30, then it's probably out of the question potentially anyway. We're going with 10 due to cost. So let's take a walk down there, again, when I say we, I'm just going.
Proverbial.
Well, let's survey a few locations so we know the cost of some specific locations.
Go back to council.
I think And then at least we know what costs we're dealing with
Okay.
here.
Then you can bring it back.
If they need 20,000 from you to make this happen, that's far sight different than if they need 5.
So essentially, why don't we recommend for administration to deal with the dog park committee regarding the details, the recommendation?
How do you feel about dogs?
Vote on that, or we can just,
Yep.
so can we,
Can you repeat that, please?
Is for recommendation,
I make a resolution that we make a recommendation to administration to look into this further as far as size, location, costs, et cetera.
that's what I was saying, thank you.
right? All in favor?
Okay, so we'll start that.
Thank you.
Make a motion
Yep.
to take a 10-15 minute break.
All right, all in favor?
Let's go.